All right, would you all agree that teaching is full of little risks? I mean, we have some great ideas out there that you have generated through this course, and I'm sure through your other teaching experiences and courses. But there's always a bit of a risk in whether or not it's going to work for our students. I'm taking a risk this morning. You guys all inspired me with your, it's kind of loud right now, with your personal stories. And so I'm taking you on location with me to create my video today. It occurred to me as we talked about technology and as I see your lessons playing out for your wiki, that making videos like this one to teach out to your students might be a way to kind of free up some of your time in the classroom time. Like if you're trying to conference with students, you could have some students watch a mini lesson as part of a station rotation. I think I mentioned that briefly. And the other thing that struck me is as you wrote your personal stories, your stories really invite students into your life. And that's really key in building community with students, and also in breaking down some of those barriers. There's some assumptions about teachers, especially English teachers, I shouldn't say especially, but I've noted it with English teachers since I am one, where there's sometimes a aura of like maybe you don't really know what anything is like outside of your classroom, or it's intimidating to speak or write in front of you because you might be correcting their grammar in your head, that kind of thing. So breaking down some of that, showing them a slice of your life. This is a slice of my life. I live in a small town that only has one fast food restaurant. It's McDonald's, not my favorite, but their dollarized coffees this summer are just fine with me. And so I'm live on location today. I always have to come into town to drop off my son for cross country at 7:15. He's done at 8:15, and it's a lot of driving back and forth. So I thought today I'm going to use my time and also just model to you about how you can use little snippets of time to be productive, which I know a lot of you already know from the balancing acts you have. I know at least one of you has a family, and so you know how this whole thing goes, and just balancing all of your coursework and jobs. Some of you said how many hours you're working a week. Craziness, right? So today we are wrapping things up. This is our final video. We're in week 7 on June 23rd, and I can't believe I can't believe how fast this course has gone. So anyway, there are no weekly videos other than this one to watch this week, so don't let this confuse you. There are not actually very many resources this week other than things to kind of look through from other weeks. So don't be looking for readings and things to watch in week 7 because there's just not much of it. For our final tasks, just kind of wanted to end with this thought. What do you most look forward to in teaching writing, and what do you most dread? I anticipate my fall classes. I'm going to go back to teaching the actual composition side, where I'm teaching writing and not just teaching how to teach writing. And I have a few of these ideas tucked away in my head already. I kind of already know the parts I most look forward to. And 2 of my classes that I'm going to be teaching this fall are face-to-face classes, and I really enjoy the energy I get from students when I'm in front of them, even though I really love the flexibility of online. So I know what I'm looking forward to is that energy, watching the watching the little epiphanies. And if some of your ideas are the same as mine, don't feel bad. What I most dread, to be really gut level honest with you, is that middle of the semester lull when they're not very motivated, and frankly I'm fighting for motivation, and the papers are coming in hard and strong because I constantly am looking for efficient and effective ways to give feedback on papers where it's not a waste of my time, and yet I'm not cutting the potential for growth for them by how I give feedback. So those are my good and dread responses. For your blog this week, we talk a lot about educational theorists and practitioners talk about the importance of student-led instruction in engaging learners, as well as teaching learners to engage at higher levels of thinking. So critical thinking, student-led instruction, and I would throw another one out there, authentic writing tasks. Authentic tasks, okay? I'm sure you've heard these words since you're this far along in your education. program. So here's my long question. What is this going to look like in your classroom? And you can oppose the theorists too. I remember back in one of my master's level classes really not latching on to this idea of student-led instruction and realizing that the student-led instruction and realizing that I wasn't really doing it. I wanted to do it, but I wasn't really doing it. And I realized that I couldn't be a purist in it, that I had to be a part-time practitioner in it. I could do units in it, I could do groups and moments in my class that were student-led and be more intentional about drawing out student leadership in my classroom. But starting with a blank slate and letting the students build on it, it's not in my bag of tricks. I'm not good. I am a planner. So just thinking about it. Brainstorm topics that might set a context for writing beyond opinion. Okay, so when we talk about critical thinking and argument and persuasion, a lot of times students are really good about popping off about what they believe and what they know to be true. But what are we going to do to get them to write beyond giving their opinion on something? To invite... I see my hyphens in the wrong place between invite and student instead of student-led. That's what distracted me. But to invite their leadership in learning, but also that they would have to be critical thinkers. How can we challenge their thinking? Maybe set up some context for healthy conflict in class, where there's a little bit of debate going on and where students can't just be set in their ways. They have to think outside the box. And again, moving up that Bloom's taxonomy, how are we going to get there? And then finally, and I think we had some articles on that last week, if you would brainstorm activities that might help students to lead, students to collaborate, communicate about topics that are sticky. In other words, when we're talking about that critical thinking, sometimes it's easy to stay away from certain topics because they're too controversial and we just don't want to go there. And that's wise to a degree. You don't want to be that teacher that's always pushing the envelope, especially as a new teacher in a building. But at what point is it important for students to explore topics that are real, that are controversial in our society, that do explore different ways of thinking? And I'm all good. Definitely, as part of my faith and my learning, I think it's fine if students have a well-developed idea of a stance on their faith, on their political position, but it can't be just something that they've absorbed from their parents. When I'm speaking of high school students specifically here, and I think that sometimes in our middle school grades, like grades 5 and 6, we don't really address what they're addressing on the playground. There are things that they are talking about. Listen to the lyrics of the music that they are listening to along with you, and recognize that, they're starting to get their health, reproductive talks in these grades. What is the elephant in the room that may need to be addressed in a safe and protected environment? And again, there's lots of options in this particular blog. If you don't cover all of it, if you have one of these that you want to jump off on, that's totally fine with me. In addition, I didn't use the word authentic task here, but if you want to write a piece even about how you want to make your writing authentic, and what I mean by this, we haven't talked a lot about it, but as you look at writing tasks, I think it's really important that we show students why it matters in the context. One of you wrote about this with research, that you wanted to know why you had to write this paper. And sometimes it's really hard because we come up against, well, you just need to because it's an academic discipline or it's going to be on the test, but we can do better than that. A lot of you are talking about using letters, that you're talking about creating real context where real readers are giving real feedback to real writers, but also maybe even exploring some places that your writing can go beyond the classroom. What if you send those letters? What if you find a writing contest for your creative writers? What if the science department's doing a science fair and you use your analytical writing in conjunction with the science fair, so the students are having a real audience. How can you make writing a real life experience for these students? And again, that doesn't mean to take away from the creativity of it. In fact, creativity is a real part of our world. So how can you make this how can you empower students by showing them why their writing matters? Okay. And then finally, a lot of questions have come up about the wiki, and I just want to make sure that we're all understanding what the final edit's going to look like. At this point, you have layers. Basically, we began with the end in mind, kind of a backwards design type of idea, where you had a Common Core standard and a writing task, 4 of them. And now you've shaded them in with all of your activities, your links, your worksheets, your presentations, what you're going to need to master all of those concepts. And then finally, and then you made a calendar to show how it's going to look in a semester or on a month calendar, right? Now what I want you to do is roll it all together into one accessible piece. I don't have a specific organization in mind, but just from last semester, I noticed that some sort of table of contents is helpful, and a lot of you started out with a really visually appealing, color-coded, different fonts. That's a good idea. There's ways to make more than one wiki page too, if you wish, so you could have a different page for each item. You can embed links. You don't have to put everything copy and pasted onto the page. Basically, what I'm going to do with these is, after you go through, and the one thing I do want you to consider is that some of I want it to be able to see, okay, here's the prompt, here's the Common Core standard, here's all of the materials that go with it, but you can organize it in any way you want. But what I don't need is a lot of repetition. Clean it up so that I'm not seeing the prompt over and over again, unless that's your way that you're organizing it, where you're going to do a chart of prompts and then the breakdown of each lesson, and that would be fine. But just kind of keep in mind the reader, because what I'm going to do then is there's a way for me to roll them all together and publish them out to you. And so you're going to walk away from this class with 13 different wikis. And of those 13 wikis, you'll have basically, 55 lessons that you can use in your first teaching job. Now, granted, some of them aren't going to be perfect fits for you, but what a rich resource for you, because you are all doing such high quality work. If you have questions on what this should look like, again, remember, I don't like to be too prescriptive, but if you have questions, please let me know. And it looks like I somehow lost my page for you. So let me pull this up real quick. Okay, here it is. I'm having some weird computer issues this morning. Okay, so you're creating your final draft of your teaching toolkit, and then on the read and watch side of things, this week you are, I don't have any new materials, but I just want to show you a few things. Consider going back to the writing fix, and this graphite and read, write, think, and there's some other site for teachers. There's lots of layers to these, and I'm sure you didn't get a chance to master them. So go back through and kind of look up vocabulary. I know it's a temporary account, but it might be something you'd be able to talk your curriculum department into. It's an awesome resource for links and videos. Explore YouTube and explore what you might find there for integrating little videos into your classroom, things that maybe you could even post on an LMS or send home as students are Okay, so I'm having technical difficulty and I don't know where I just left off and where I started, but do go back through and look through some of these resources for more ideas for exploration, and have a great week.